I'd come down to the shop this morning. The project bench is basically everything's out in the garage. And I can't really do anything on Steve's project. We're waiting for him to come over at some convenient time and put some stickers or decals on his project, and then it'll be ready for the clear. So as I thought about this overnight, I thought one of the things I didn't take into account is if that stripe comes right up here, I'm going to have to see how those two parts fit together once I bring them in out of the tundra. And it's really cold out there this morning. And I'm not sure yet how much of the bottom of the fairing is going to be white. Based on these drawings, I still have to lay out the stripe that separates the bottom yellow from the white, and I don't know how that's going to play out yet. But the way it's been working out, I've been modifying it on the fly, and so far so good. So I get out to the tundra, and this is a really significant thing. I have found this to be true many times in painting airplanes. I lay out tape, and I come back the next day, I look at it, and it looks very different. Now, last night when I went to bed, in my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm not sure. Now I came out this morning, and I've looked at it with fresh eyes, and I really am happy with the way that laid out. So with that in mind, what I have to do is two things today. I have to first be happy with what I have on the other side, and I've already made patterns for everything. And then, of course, physically lay it out on this side. But the big thing will be if I can get the tape finished and get this down in the cellar a lot earlier than I was yesterday. Some of the small details I have to think about. Do I want to run this way, or do I want to run this around the seat? I'm kind of going with that. I had thought at one time, and it was in my concept drawing, that I would bring this up around here. Have not decided on that yet. That's yet to be decided. Again, this is going to wrap under. Now keep in mind, when you have paint instead of stickers, paint can go around the corner. And I remember on Bitchin' Rides, a guy brought a muscle car in, and they took all the stickers off and painted the stickers on so that they could wrap around the doors. And that's always something that I think is really nice. Also, on all of my paint jobs, I try to make it that when I'm done with the paint and the buffing, you can't close your eyes and you can't find the stripe. See, an example, if this was a sticker, it would end right here and there'd be a little green bar there. Well, when we do paint, it can go right to the end, and that's one of the advantages of doing paint. Now, I'm sure a lot of people, if you have not really ever done a restoration like this, you kind of underestimate how many hours go into it. You see this bike at one of the meetups that we have, or any of the bikes, and you think, oh yeah, he spent the weekend doing that. Or as I say on the YouTube guys, the guys that they don't even let the guy get off the bike, they just get the flat black out and spray the bike while the guy's sitting on it. Well, we're trying to do the exact opposite of that. But the more I look at this, now the other thing is, two things. I got to take this outside. I want to see it outside. That's the next step. Then I'm going to bring it in, because I have limited space here, all these bikes there. But this looks a lot bigger on video than it really is. I want to reverse it so I can work on that side and then put it up on a center stand so it won't be leaning away from me. And believe it or not, this is an important step, is to get it out in the sun, because one of the decisions I have to make is how much yellow is going to be below those ladders, and I need to look at what the reference lines are, and I'm not sure what, right now I'm not sure what they really are. But to look at it see, because I have patterns now, this will be relatively straightforward. But again, when you look at curved surfaces, and I alluded to that in the last video, you lay out a drawing, it's in a flat plane like a piece of paper. Then you go to put it on a golf ball, where that stripe goes in by the seat and around. But I wasn't sure if I was going to like it in real life. Well, I think I do like it. I think the only thing has to happen here, this front bar has to be a little bit thicker from that scoop forward. I'll try to add a little thickness, because this, in essence, this is supposed to get thinner and thinner at the back, and I've done that with 1/8 inch tape, but I've only added one piece of 1/8 inch tape. I may have to add another one, because it gets exponentially bigger as it goes there. So we have a day, it's really cold out here, but it's a day that I was able to get out here Because once I have this that I'm happy with it and I have patterns, now it's a relatively simple thing to lay out the rest of the paint. And I've got to do, the first thing is to get out the other side, then come around and lay out the stripe that's going to go down the whole motorcycle. We'll separate the yellow from the white and figure out how thick it should be and where it should be. And if I was selling Good Humor ice cream, I'd just put some Good Humor decals on a tank and be ready to go. I want to make another good point. I got this in the garage where I need it, and I got my quartz heater heating up. One of the reasons, and it's only one of many reasons, number one, I like FZRs. I like the way they look. I've had this bike about 5 years, done a lot of work on it, restored it once already. But here's another thought. I wouldn't want to do all this work to a bike that I hadn't ridden for a couple of years. For a simple reason, is I don't know if I'm going to like the bike. And I know firsthand, many people have bought especially sport bikes, spent a lot of money getting them fixed up and restored, and then they find out they don't really want a sport bike with clip-ons. Well, I think there's an endless supply of people like that. But I managed to get this bike so comfortable and so friendly, user-friendly for me, both in doing track days and just riding around on the street, put on over 20,000 miles, that I'm happy to spend this time and energy and money to do this restoration again and renew it. It's for all purposes, when I'm done with this, hopefully, going to be like buying a new bike. Except I know I'm going to be happy with it. So while I'm laying out the other side, I'm looking at this, of course, from every angle, seeing what else I might want to change. But here's the other good thing. Once I have all these bars in place, I can fix all the little tails and all the little angles, corners. I can do all that. Downstairs where it's nice and warm. Out here where it's about 35 degrees, not so much fun. I also, of course, will continue. I have a pattern for this and this, so I want that stripe to continue out the tank. I'll want that seat to be, well, we're going to see how it's going to play out there. And boy, I'm still thinking about that little curl in the back. Anyway, another cup of coffee and I'll be ready to start cutting tape. And as I lay it out, of course, I'll just verify that everything's right based on how it marries up to these patterns. They should be pretty similar. Now this time it should be a little simpler because I have a reference point. And I can look directly from the back and see that these reference points line up. Once I'm happy with the reference points, then I can lay this out. And I can measure from the scoops, the top down, get a reference point on that, and then of course, just like I did on a previous video, lay out that stripe on the tank, which should be a perfect connect around the seat. And one good way of making sure this is all going to work out in the end, I put an imaginary, of course we're going to have a real stripe just like on the fender. This is not in the middle. I'm going to measure that this is in the middle, and I can measure now from here to various reference points, because you will see it on the tail. Yeah, there is a point at which I can see, can't really see it up on the fairing, but back here I really want this to kind of all come into the same, and then a big stripe down the middle will all come together at the same time. So having a center line to work off, always an important part of laying out the opposite side once you have one side the way you want it. Now, just like I did on the other side, I'm watching that line disappear, and I know I've got to bring the back end up just a bit, and I've measured from the back, the bottom of the tank, to that stripe. I'm low by maybe a 1/16 of an inch, so I know that stripe has to go up just a little bit until I can lower my eye and see that line. It's a critical thing. From almost every angle you look at the bike, they all have to line up. That's why I had to go through this whole thing of putting a motorcycle together. Okay, this is one of the tricks for moving tape. If I just pull this tape up and reset it, I lose everything. But I know I have this end right, and I just need to put my finger here, hold that, pull the tape up. I always put a little marker where you want it to go. And this way you don't lose your original reference line. And we're doing that because we're going around a multiple curve. I'm doing it with several pieces of thinner tape and then putting another thin layer over the gap. If I try to do it with this tape, what happens is it doesn't want to go up around those multiple curves. Now with the tape moved there, I can see I've got that pretty close. That's a good trick, by the way. Now I just have to be careful when I take the seat off later that I get these, because what happens, the tape is now going downhill here because of the curve. I've got to adjust that and get them perfectly even from the back. All of these edges up here, I will adjust these down in a nice warm cellar. And boy, am I glad I did that extra work on a tank, or this would be a complete crappy weld going around the whole tank. Instead, that's just going to make it that much nicer. Now, small item, I want to see the top of this. You really can't see them, but I want to have those angles that it's not obvious that one is different than the other. Yeah, you can see them at the same time. So now we pretty much have that first line replicated. We're going to do the same thing for the bottom line. So what I did, I took a measurement from the center line down to this point, then down here, so I know where to start that tape. But I'll have this pattern here to make sure, because I know the two top lines are right, that I haven't made it lower or higher than it should be. That's where the patterns come in handy. Now from the front view, I can measure from the bottom of the radiator to the bottom of the stripe. Just gets me in the ballpark roughly where that they were going to marry up, because maybe at some point in time we're going to see that. Now I also have to account if any of these stripes, there's a piece that goes in there, of course. If any of these stripes continue on in, and I won't know until I put that little triangle piece up against this piece, but hopefully if there is any, that stripe goes through there. And I'm wondering right up here, I may have to put a little piece of stripe on that. We're going to find out. But so far we've had reference points. I also have the reference point for that inside the fairing. That kind of looks like it belongs. A little by little this is coming together. A lot faster than yesterday. I may be done before dark. Now I can reference this line, this corner, just with a piece of tape. Reference that for my first bar. And then from that point on I can use the patterns that I already have. Now we're using all our reference lines and our pattern. This is going to start, because we know this shape, we have a pattern. Now I can just go right down and lay these out. So it's just a question of removing all our patterns, trimming up the tape, get all the edges cleaned up, get everything pressed down, and we're ready to move up. We'll do the same thing up in the tank. We have a pattern and the front fairing. And what I tend to do every step of the way, check with the patterns, check for the overall look, because it's very easy to get this wrong. Now we still have to lay out that stripe, and I'm being very careful to keep my hands clean when washing my hands with Windex. It's this white, I don't want to stain it. Some of the parts that are covered with tape are going to ultimately be white. I don't want to have a fingerprint on them. Let's see what I'm doing. I'm working from one end of the motorcycle. Actually, it wouldn't matter which end you start with. And having these patterns makes it a lot easier, and it makes the job go a lot quicker. I wanted to mention how this tape is really good tape. I know this is expensive, and because I bought so much of it, I'll have plenty of overage for other jobs. But using this tape instead of trying to strip masking tape with that green masking tape, this is a really, really good product. And I just mentioned that it's 3M vinyl tape, comes in all different thicknesses, and whatever you think it costs, it's worth it. And just because we have these patterns, I'll save all these patterns. I'll have no idea why, in case I ever need to repair the bike, but I guess I could just copy them off the other side. But boy, they make laying this out, they make it possible. And then the next step is to lay out the border and decide if we want to have an extra stripe, one stripe, two stripes. always agonize over the striping. What color borders what color? But I guess at some point in time you got to cut bait or fish. Well, lay tape or whatever. And in this type of a job, that striping and how many stripes and the thickness of them, the critical part of the job. So I'll start by just replicating this. I used a 1/4 inch border, pulled out the 1/4 inch tape, left the 1/8 inch on. So now that I'm basically at the end of this part of the job, and it's starting to warm up, I said, look who shows up! Holy hell.
Yeah, you did something wrong over here. Yeah,
Yeah.
This isn't right.
I better rip it all off and start all over again. So now I have to do the separation line because there'll be yellow below this, but white below that, and I have to lay out somehow, I guess, with a parallel line. And I don't know, that scoop is going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to get in the way, that's for sure. But hey, we've overcome worse problems, that's for sure. But that is going to be a little challenging. You know, when I bought that tape, I bought $100 worth of tape, thinking I got to do your bike too. I'm almost going to run out of tape. There ain't much tape left here.
Really?
Whoa, Christ, yeah, I've been using it up like water. It's unbelievable. Yeah, you thought I was a junkie or something. Let's see these decals you got. Ninja.
$1 decals at the...
Oh, these are Pete's decals. All right, these are press-ons.
Yeah, look, I got a perfect decal.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, and I have the matching T-shirt somewhere upstairs. Yeah, that's up. Yeah, we put that right on a gas tank so I can get free gas. Actually, you did a nice job on that. Look at that. Look at that. Holy mackerel. We're going to head in and check out Turbo Steve's job. He's got to park his car here. We got this crazy alternate street parking, and the last time one of my friends did what he did, parked over the driveway, it cost me 75 bucks. Look at the day. We're losing a day here. I wanted to look at this outside, and I know Turbo Steve's looked at it already and said it isn't going to look good at all, so look at this day. So this will be the big reveal for Turbo Steve when he sees his parts for the first time. Yeah, these really did come out. If you saw these parts the day we took them in to start this job, fish eyes everywhere, Bondo chunking out. It's looking pretty good now. Ready for the big reveal here? Wow, the big reveal, swimsuit competition. Take a look. Oh, look at that.
Looks like a baby.
Wow.
750 turbo.
Look at the quality of that. Baby turbo. That'd be a good decal to put on it. I backmasked this part, and I forgot about the white. You didn't want a white stripe, so I had to re-backmask it again. Look, I'll have to add that to the bill, of course. All the black is shot twice, so the black is really nice. When the clear goes on this, this will be like you know, a mirror. It'll be beautiful.
I'm going to sell that paint scheme to Kawasaki, but then again, they don't make this bike.
Well, they better go back in production. Pete's got a whole drawer full of these for a buck a piece?
Oh, a buck a piece, yeah.
Does he have Yamaha ones?
Yamaha.
Well, maybe I'll go down there and see what he's got. Yeah, these look like, they're vinyl, of course. I don't know if they're white inside. Pull one apart.
Now these, well, if
you didn't make these, did you? No, if you got them from Pete, you didn't make them.
$1 each.
Oh, okay. $1 a piece is good.
I was going to offer him 20 bucks for the whole.
I may do that.
Yeah, get them all.
Buy the whole thing. When I saw the windshields he had, I bought this windshield from Pete. He had 100 windshields, every one in a plastic bag with no number or which belongs with which bike. I had to fit every one to get one that fits. And it doesn't even really fit. I had to make it fit. So we scheduled up doing the decals on the Ninja project and the clear. It's not a good day for clear. It's getting cloudy, looking like it's going to rain any minute. So what it's going to allow me to do is finish laying out. See, the bottom of this is supposed to be white. There's supposed to be a band of yellow, and I have to figure out where, and I'm going to start laying out. This is why I bought all this tape. What thickness the line should be, and should it have an accent barrier, because that's critical too. Then the last thing, because then once that's done, I can bring all the parts downstairs where it's humanly warm, and I can lay out the stripe going down the tank, going down here, and down the back. So, and it's, as I always say, scheduling these things and figuring out the sequence to do them in is a critical part of the job, sequencing. Of course, I'm laying this out several different ways. I'm really not sure how I want to do this yet, because we have changed the concept sketch some, but of course, all in the eye of the beholder. Now, as I laid out the rest of this stripe, and of course I've had to change it from the concept drawing because of this bulge here, because if I tape off an equal amount here, it looks crooked when you stand back. So again, putting a map on a globe, sometimes you have to have the globe and see it in real life. When Turbo Steve was here, he suggested just laying this out. I had thought about that already, but I want to lay it out in tape. See if I like it, or if it looks a little bit too, well, won't know until I like it. You can always retape it. Now what I decided to do, I'm going to take this downstairs and remask this. I do like the way this looks. I'm going to remask this just for one simple reason. This tape out here, it's gone below freezing again. It's getting late. And what's happening, the tape is really getting aggressive. I don't want to leave all that residue on there. I can trim that all off. In fact, I'll take this whole piece off, warm it with a heat gun, pull it off, and do it over downstairs. Yeah, I kind of like the way that looks. So what's happening, I'm trying to get this done so I can get down in the warm cellar, because this tape is not doing me a favor being out in this cold weather here, and I can't really warm it up realistically. So what I want to do, I want to lay out the stripe on the other side here, and I think I have that pretty much, well, I'm not going to really know until I paint it. But when this is done, I may have to do a little bit of something back here, but we'll see. I can always undo that. The main thing is I have these bars in the right spot so that they're parallel. That's the main thing. So after looking at this from every possible angle, I'm ready to put it out in the driveway. I have all the lines that matter. I've got to redo that tail right at the very end, but I need to pull off some of that tape with a heat gun. It is so cold out here. It's bitter. And we've reached a milestone. This is the part that I had to do in the garage. The rest of the striping and any fine tuning I'm doing here, I can do down in the cellar. So I'm going to just take this outside, take one final look at it, and then pull it apart and put it back in the cellar where it belongs. It's actually pretty hard to realize how many hours I spent out in the tundra here to get this done. Wow. But I got all the alignments. Now the fine tuning and wrapping this around the edge, I can do that all downstairs where it's about 45 degrees warmer. And I really think, once I get the tail done, I really think this is going to turn out to be a really nice paint job that I'm going to be very happy with. You know what I'm talking about. I'm just glad to get out of this cold weather. I can't pull this apart soon enough, believe me. This turned out to be a clammy, it looks like it's going to snow or rain, below freezing day out here in the tundra. Next time I'm out in the tundra, I'll know I have to polish those. That'll be one more thing on the cleanup of this. But right now I got to get this all taken apart, get it back down the cellar. And boy, that can't come soon enough. Karen's already warming up the coffee. It's hard to explain to somebody how much effort went into this. Anyway, I think we did get it very close to what my vision was. Looking forward to getting it downstairs now. Wow, is it cold out here. It's getting colder by the minute. So now before I end this session, what I'm going to do, I'll probably do it off camera anyway. What I want to do is connect these two stripes. I want that to go through. I need to do all the wraps. If I have to retape anything underneath, just retape it. And boy, am I glad. That big pile of tape is now about down 2/3. And of course, sooner or later, they're all going to be in this resplendent Yamaha racing yellow. And now, one final tip. If, for instance, you have to remove this piece of tape, because this stuff is cold right now, and if I pull up any of this tape now without putting a hairdryer on it, it does leave the contamination. I see fish eyes then and everything. But always warm the tape. And then if you do, put another piece of tape right where it is, take that tape up, and then you have a guideline where you have to put it back. But boy, oh boy, if you only knew how much work that really was. Unbelievable. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, got some ideas, watched us freeze, and very soon, it's not going to be long, the next step, once we get a paintable day, it looks like it's going to snow out there. We get a paintable day, for sure this is going to get, once I have that trim on there, oh, it's making me wet my whistle already. So again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.